So, welcome to Thursday Night Live Stream with Nikki Stees. So, I don't do this often, as you guys that follow me know. So, those of you, you've been longtime followers, I do not like to discuss rumors and all these different random rumors going around and gossip. But you know what? I figured this time around, I'll at least discuss some of the possible options for a trade deadline, and I'll give my thoughts on the rumors, whether I think they're just nonsense or whether I think they could possibly happen, whatever the case may be. Sometimes we like to talk about it, so I figured why not do so in this case. So I'm going to get to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go team by team, going to talk about some different possibilities of what I think they could possibly do, whether they think they might stay put, whether I think they might try to trade for an extra bench piece or try to trade a pick or try to trade for a pick, whatever the case may be for each team, what I think possibly could happen with them. And if you guys want to comment on it, you're more than welcome to leave a comment in the chat. Let me know what you think they might do, whether you agree, disagree with anything I say. So going to go team by team. And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. It's going to be similar to what I did on Tuesday. So it's going to be similar to what I did Tuesday night with the NFL. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the East. We're going to start with one team in the East. Actually, it's going to be my team, the Philadelphia 76ers. So they're a team that's obviously needs some bench pieces. And we also need to get out of that awful PJ Tucker trade or that free signing, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, even though we should. But I think probably looking for bench pieces. And I think, honestly, when it comes to looking for bench pieces, what we got to do here, really, our best option is to trade guys like Matisse Thybulle, who's been now rumored to be traded. Remember, it was being rumored that Tobias Harris was going to get traded, but as you see recently, he's been playing pretty solid. Like last night when I did that play-by-play with Mitchkovsky in Philly halftime, first half play-by-play and reactions, I was mostly reacting. But long story short, first half, Tobias was in, but second half he picked up. But recently, Tobias Harris has been doing pretty solid as of lately. He's been putting it down. He's been helping out. He's been kind of the X factor he was a few years ago in 2020, 2021. So that puts him off the trading block right there. Matisse Thybulle, but he's on the trading block, especially they could try to trade him for a team that's looking to add a piece on defense. I don't know, maybe the Sacramento Kings might be willing to do a swap right there. Or who was another, who was another team? Maybe a team like the San Antonio Spurs. Maybe not so much the Spurs, but somebody out there could get him. Maybe a team like the Pacers might want him. Or who else? There could be some other teams maybe. Who else could maybe? Well, maybe a few teams closer to the West might want him. Maybe the Clippers or somebody might want him. Maybe they might want to get guys like John Wall and them out of there. They might try to pull a deal. I don't really know if we'd be going for John Wall at this point. I don't know, maybe the Hawks might try to chime in with John Collins. I'm just thinking of some different possibilities that might happen with the Matisse Thybulle trade. But so far, there hasn't been any team per se strongly linked to a possible Matisse Thybulle trade yet. I mean, it is a week before the deadline, so that could change in a week from now. So by tomorrow, Saturday, maybe Sunday, that could all change. But as of right now, there isn't any strong enough evidence to suggest that he could go to any particular team. We're just speculating possible options here that maybe could happen, which isn't strong enough to suggest that a trade's going to actually happen. Now, a player I do think should request a trade and should get traded, realistically, is Paul Reed. I've said that before. And for those of you guys, if any of you are watching this, you don't know why I'm making that suggestion. The reason why is because he doesn't get much playing time with the Sixers. And Doc Rivers is not a coach that shows any confidence in playing guys like Paul Reed and putting him in the rotation. So that's why I personally think Paul Reed's a guy the Sixers should try to trade. Maybe they'll try to get a piece that they'll actually use in return for him. They could try to trade Paul Reed to a team looking for younger pieces, like maybe the Houston Rockets, maybe the Detroit Pistons, or maybe the Wizards or something like that. I don't think the Wizards one's going to happen. I would like for the Sixers to try to get Kyle Kuzma, but that's not going to happen. I think Paul Reed could realistically go to a team that needs a younger, bigger guy, power forward or center. So I do think Paul Reed should request a trade, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen. So we'll have to see. As of right now, Matisse Thybulle's the rumored player right now. So that's where the Sixers stand. We will ultimately have to see if that's actually going to happen or not first. So now here's a team that has some younger players that if they were to do a trade, they could get that in return. That is the Brooklyn Nets. And yeah, the Brooklyn Nets are a team that if they have some young pieces there. And they have a combination of young pieces and veteran players that team could try to do a deal with. Maybe Joe Harris could be offered up right there. Maybe due to the salary situation. Maybe there's the possibility guys like Seth Curry or Patty Mills could get traded. Possibly just some guys out there that get traded. Maybe if John Collins is on the out with the Hawks, maybe the Nets are a team that could possibly be in consideration. You could have the Nets could maybe try to go, maybe the Nets could try to trade John Collins, maybe a pick, maybe Seth Curry and Joe Harris, or Seth Curry, Patty Mills, or Patty Mills, Joe Harris, some combination of like two players, a pick for John Collins, maybe. That's something that could possibly happen right there. So the net, or for another team that's looking to trade away a veteran, that could be valuable. The Nets might be good partners for them. And, obviously they're not the only team. Maybe even who knows? Maybe possibly a team like maybe the Spurs, if they're looking, maybe the Spurs are looking to get an extra pick. Maybe they could trade the only two players from the Spurs I really see could possibly get traded are Center Jacob Portl, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Doug McDermott. Those are some guys that could possibly get traded. So maybe the Spurs and Nets could be partners for that, for the Spurs to get an extra pick from the Nets. Possibly. That's a possible option. Maybe a team like the Clippers that's possibly looking to get rid of some pieces. Maybe they could do something there with the Nets. But so far, the Clippers have been rumored to other pieces, which I'll get to when I talk about the Clippers. And maybe possibly an OG Omnibi with the Raptors, but well, then again, they did do it. I was going to say, do you really want to do a trade with the division rival? But they did that last year with the Sixers, so it's possible they could do that again. They could trade some of those pieces like Seth, Patty, or Joe Harris, possibly in a pick, to the Raptors for an Albany, possibly. Because it looks like the Raptors are likely to pull off a move to try to get a pick. So there's different possible teams the Nets could possibly pull a trade off with. The point I'm getting at with some of those pieces right there. But now, speaking of other teams in the Nets division, that leads me to, well, the Toronto Raptors, who, that's right, that leads me to the Toronto Raptors, who could possibly, they're looking, things like signs are pointing to, they're looking to pull something off, that the Raptors are looking for some sort of trade right here. And they've been heavily rumored to be possibly pulling a move. There's been talks about guys like possibly Fred VanVleet going. So there is a possibility that could happen right there. I mean, you could be talking, like I just alluded to, OG Abani maybe could go somewhere. Maybe a team like the Nets could possibly be a target. Or maybe, the Spurs or one of those other teams. Obviously, Gary Trent Jr. is one that's been heavily rumored to be possibly going somewhere. I feel like the Raptors are going to try to pull off some move right here, try to get a pick in return, because it seems like what the Raptors, I think the Raptors are kind of at that point where they're looking to try to retool right now. It seems like signs are pointing to the Raptors realizing, all right, let's try to blow it up and let's rebuild. If they want to do that, their best options there to go for Albany or Pascal Siakam, try to trade them for a haul in return. I don't see the Spurs doing it because the Spurs are at the bottom. They need help in the draft for the future. I don't see them giving up a bunch of futures to the Raptors just for that. Maybe they could if Siakam and Albany are in the package and it'll help make the Spurs better. But then if you're the Spurs, you got to rely on free agency. But I just don't see them doing that. So I don't see the San Antonio Spurs getting involved in this. The Hornets, I don't see it based on Michael Jordan's track record and his luck with getting star players. I just don't see that happening. But then again, he'd probably have to give up LaMelo in that package. Maybe there's a package of sorts that could be made with the Clippers if the Clippers give up some picks for it. Because the Clippers might be a team willing to give up a pick or two to the Raptors in exchange for Siakam or Albany. So there's a team right there possibly that they could do business with. The Clippers, that could possibly be a team. But the Raptors are going to try to get some draft compensation. So more likely they would trade with a team that just needs some pieces that's willing to sacrifice a pick. Like I could see a team maybe like the Clippers or maybe the Mavericks, so they feel that'll give Luka some help. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just throwing out some different possibilities out there. But I could see most likely at this point the Clippers. Now, still, we got a week to go. So, in the next week, some more stuff's going to be coming up. Some more rumors will be flying all over the place right there. But so far, most of the rumors discussed are just players that are rumored to be on the move. And I'm just going to throw some possible destinations they could go to. So for the Raptors, yeah, there's a possibility there. I don't know, maybe the Miami Heat could possibly be an option right there for one of those guys, because maybe they could trade them. Maybe the Heat be willing to give some picks, maybe give Duncan Robinson in return, maybe Duncan Robinson pick in return for either Siakam or Albany. Anobi, I should say. That's a possibility right there, but yeah, it looks like that a trade could be possibly happening soon. And Fred VanVleet's another option too. But now for another team right here. So now another team in the East, the defending Eastern Conference champion, the Boston Celtics. Me personally, I don't see the Celtics pulling off anything right there. I'm not going for the rumors, anything associated with the Celtics, because I haven't even really been paying attention to the Celtics rumors because I just see them as complete nonsense. Because you look at their roster, who are they going to trade right there? They're at the top of the East. They're doing good right now. They got an upgrade to help with their depth with Malcolm Brogdon during the offseason. So I think if the Boston Celtics should, for their sake, stay put. And I think they will stay put. So I don't see the Celtics pulling off any moves coming up next Thursday, between now and next Thursday, to acquire anybody else. So I see the Boston Celtics as a team that's staying put. Now, the next team is going to be a bit of an interesting one. It's a team that is in, other team in the East. And that is you probably figure out the New York Knicks if you've been following them. So the Knicks, they're an interesting one in this. There is the possibility, because with the Knicks have 38.5 in salary that they're trying to get rid of some cap space. They're trying to get rid of between Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, and Cam Reddish. So there's some guys right there that they could try to get rid of. Try to get rid of some of that cap. And two rumored guys that are being discussed that the Knicks could try to trade multiple of those guys for or one of those guys for in Fournier, Rose, and Reddish are Bogdanovich and Jay Crowder. Now, there is a possibility, I think, that the Knicks could do business there and try to get rid of one of those guys for Bogdanovich or Crowder. Yeah, that could help them with the salary cap with that $38.5 million between those three players, being Fournier, Rose, and Reddish. That could help the Knicks right there if they get rid of one or two of those guys for a Bogdanovich or Crowder. Then, gives them a little bit more depth right there. It could help with their team right there. Because the Knicks are still a team that is looking to make a push getting toward the playoffs, because they still have a chance at least at the play-in tournament. So that could be a good upgrade for them. And obviously they're not going to get rid of Julius Randle, because Julius Randle's been playing good and they want to keep him around. So there's some guys they could possibly trade, maybe try to get. I don't know, I'm thinking most likely either Bogdanovich or Crowder, because I don't know who else they're going to get. I just don't look at them like, yeah, but who else are they going to try to possibly get? That's the best I can really see the Knicks doing at this point. So now we're moving along a little bit in the Eastern Conference, but we're going a little bit down south in the Eastern Conference, if you will. So we're going all the way down to South Beach. And we're going to talk about the Miami Heat and some possibilities right there. Two of the guys I see that could possibly go likely are Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson. Now, one scenario I thought that would be interesting is to have Zach LaVine, some trade between the Bulls and Heat, where Zach LaVine goes to the Heat. That would be an interesting scenario right there. Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Now, I think LaVine would be a better fit there because he won't have to play like a number one guy, in which he's not a number one guy, Zach LaVine. The problem with him with the Bulls is they're having him play like a number one guy, and he doesn't fit the role of being a top player. So I think that would be a good option for Zach LaVine. But will it happen? That part remains. I'm not sure about that. But the Miami Heat could try to pull a move right there. I mean, who else? There's some possible guys, maybe Terry Rozier or Gordon Hayward, some package with the Hornets. I don't know. Now, I've heard talk about Bradley Beal, but I don't see that happening. I don't see Bradley Beal leaving the Wizards at this point. I think our best shot of that happening were the rumors right at the beginning of the offseason when it was looking like Bradley Beal may go, but then as he got closer to it, it became evident Bradley Beal was re-signing. I think that was the little moment where it seemed like he might leave was the closest we're going to get to Bradley Beal leaving the Wizards as NBA fans. So I don't see that possibility happening. Now, of course, you're going to have the usual John Collins, Jay Crowder, Bojan Bogdanovic, which I'm going to try to keep their names. Try not to talk about their names too much during this, because their names are just going to keep coming up and coming up and coming up and coming up over and over again. So what I'm going to try to do with this one is try to go with players that are linked, that aren't being linked that much. Like, that's why I went with LaVine and Beal, because they're not really being linked that much in terms of talking about them, which, like I said, Beal, I don't see that happening. And LaVine, I talked about for a second there, because they're not being talked about as much, because pretty much the other guys, John Collins, Crowder, and Bogdanovic, you just hear about them over and over and over and over and over and over. And I don't want to come on here and just repeat their names 900 times in an hour. So for the Heat, Yeah, there is a possibility maybe Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson could go right there. Maybe Victor Oladipo in a salary filler trade, if you will. That's a possible option right there. So the Heat could, but I think the Heat, don't be surprised if they try to do something here. So don't be surprised if they try to pull a move off during this, because I think they're going to, because they're starting to get hot right now, and I think they realize that they want to win. They still got to add some pieces, and I know there's still some motivation there in that locker room to try to go out there and win. So I'm expecting the Miami Heat to make a move. So yeah. And here's another team that's likely to make a move, the Atlanta Hawks. Mainly John Collins, the John Collins saga. Will he get traded? Will he get traded? Oh, we've been hearing about this for a while now. If everything we hear about the contract behind the scenes is true between Collins and the Hawks, you know what? They should just do it. Find a trade partner at this point. Trade them and get something in return for it. Which that's obviously why, if they do end up trading for Collins or trading Collins away, they're not gonna. They're gonna wait till they get to the close to the last minute because they want to find the right pieces. So if that's what's going on in their front office, they're talking with different teams, trying to see what the best offer is and what the best pieces are in return to get rid of John Collins if they're going to end up shipping him off. But ultimately, probably going to happen. As far as all the Trae Young talk, personally, I don't buy it. I don't believe that Trae Young's going anywhere. Personally, I'm not buying into it. It's like that old saying, don't believe the hype. I don't think that Trae Young's going anywhere. But yeah, there are some turmoil. But even though there is some turmoil there, I know Trae Young, Nate McMillan. Last year there was some situation there, and I know. But the Hawks are in a tough spot. They're going to have to do something, though. With all these guys right here, with all this drama, the situation there with Trae Young and those guys. You had John Collins situation. It's just like they got to do something, man. I don't really know if they're going to go try to trade Trae Young. I think they find him more valuable at this point than Collins, so they're probably going to keep him around and try to trade John Collins. But they got to do something here, because if they stuck with this, there's just going to be more turmoil and drama in the Atlanta Hawks locker room if they don't do something about it now. So don't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks make a move. So don't be surprised if in the coming days you hear more rumors directly linking John Collins to certain teams. There are some possible options, like maybe the Raptors are possibly an option. Maybe a team like, who knows? Maybe a team like the Bulls. I don't know. I'm just throwing it. Maybe a team like the Rockets or somebody that's looking for something might try to get them, but we'll have to see about that. So now we're going back down south a little bit to Florida, if you will. We're going to discuss the Orlando Magic. And the Orlando Magic, they're in an interesting position now because they're in a rebuild. And the Orlando Magic, what are they going to do with it? That's the interesting part right there. See, what are the Magic going to do? I mean, because they're not set yet to compete. I mean, there is the possibility. We know Terrence Ross. I mean, he's finishing up his contract, but he's been on the trading block for a while, but nothing has actually come of it yet. So see what happens right there. But I don't really know if they're going to. Magic really got anyone that's really. They don't really have anybody on the trading block if you look around. It's like, I don't know if the Magic can be able to pull off anything right now. I think the best thing they can do is just at this point, wait till the end of the season and then try to invest in the draft and try to invest in free agency. But I'm looking around trying to see who's on their roster again. I'm going to look real quickly. Who's on the Magic's roster? Give me 1 second. I mean, maybe Mo Bamba could get traded. Somebody's going to take on that team. Maybe someone that's looking to add a piece because Bamba's not doing much right there. So they might trade him, but who? Who, though? I just don't see who they're going to trade him for. So, the Magic are a team that has needs. I just don't see them really being able to pull anything off at this point. I don't. And now moving on to the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, so the Hornets. Now, there are some possible options right out there. Maybe Mason Plumlee could get traded. Maybe Terry Rozier could get traded. Maybe Gordon Hayward. I mean, those are some possible options the Hornets could trade. I mean, Plumlee, maybe a team that's just looking to add some pieces could do it. Like, I don't know. Maybe a package with the Cavs with Caris LeVert could occur. Some package involving Caris LeVert and Mason Plumlee is a possible package right there. I mean, maybe they could do a deal. It's kind of tough because knowing Michael Jordan, what he does, hard to make an accurate prediction that could actually happen with the Hornets because you never go into any free agency or offseason expecting that Michael Jordan is going to pull off something huge for the Hornets. You just go into it like, oh, really? The Hornets? What are they going to do to stay irrelevant this time? I mean, it just always feels like that's the case with the Hornets. You're like, okay, what are they going to do to stay irrelevant? What move won't they pull off? Or who will they overpay for? Who will they trade that's irrelevant for scraps? I mean, there's always that question about the Charlotte Hornets. You're wondering just what are they going to do? Oh boy, but we'll have to see, won't we? We will have to see. I mean, maybe possibly, like I said, Plumlee could get traded. I mean, Terry Rozier, maybe to a team that's looking for extra bench piece, like the Pacers or something, could try to get a Terry Rozier. But it's got to be, I think Rozier's just there. He's going to go somewhere that just wants a bench piece. Maybe the Grizzlies possibly could want to add Terry Rozier. Maybe. I mean, maybe, yeah. So those are some possible options. I don't see Michael Jordan trying to go to get a Jay Crowder or somebody like that. That seems a little bit too far out of Michael Jordan's known decision-making zone. So that might be a little too far-fetched right there for Jordan to pull off. But I could see Plumlee going to one of those teams that just needs one or two pieces. Like I said, like the Grizzlies. So that's a possible option right there for him or Terry Rozier. So that's about the best I could see with the Hornets in doing this offseason. Now, the next team. There's only really one piece that I think is going to get traded. I mean, they already just pulled off a trade with the Lakers where they traded Rue away for the Lakers for Kendrick Nunn. But it looks like Kyle Kuzma wants out. So I see the Washington Wizards at best maybe a trade with Kyle Kuzma. Now, I suggested the possibility that maybe the Timberwolves could be a trade partner. Here's what I'm thinking. Involving some sort of package between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Wizards with Kyle Kuzma and Karl Anthony Towns. That is a possible package right there. Then you have Karl Anthony Towns, Bradley Beal on the same team. Might be an interesting duo, fun duo. I don't see them being a championship duo, but that could be a fun duo. I think that'd be fun if that happens. Will it happen? Probably not, but hey, might as well just come on here and throw out that possibility. It's still a fun possibility. And oogies. So I think really it's just for the Wizards about Kyle Kuzma. That's all I can really see. I mean, who else could Kyle Kuzma possibly get traded to? I'm trying to think. Is there another team out there? I could see really, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are the main one that comes to mind that I think would be a good one. But who knows? We'll have to be paying attention because, more rumors will be coming up in these coming days. So that's all I can say with the Wizards. Now, this next team, this is a relatively simple one because you know what? They don't really have to do anything, I think. The Milwaukee Bucks. I personally think the Bucks at this point should stay put. You don't want to risk some of your pieces in some big trade and trying to hurt your chances of being a contender. You don't, because one for sure, I mean, who on the Bucks would really be possibly hot for a trade? Maybe Brook Lopez, but I don't see the Bucks getting rid of Brook. Who else? Maybe Drew Holiday, but they're not going to get rid of Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton ain't going nowhere. So any of their top options that a team could possibly want are players that I don't see going anywhere. So I feel like the Bucks are staying put during this trade deadline. So now the next team, here's a team that has most of their pieces, but there is possibly one player that could go. That is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now the Cavs, I think the Cavs, there's only one player for the Cavs. He's been a player now that's been discussed now for a bit. They should go. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, though. It's Karis LeVert. Oh, there it is. Karis LeVert. That too. I mean, Karis LeVert's possibly someone they could try to trade right there because he's been rumored to be going now for a while. So I could possibly see the Cavs pulling off some sort of trade where they get rid of Karis LeVert, but they're probably not going to need really look for much for it. They're probably going to wait till they get closer, maybe see what offers they have and possibly pull off a trade there. So I can see Karis LeVert getting traded. But other than that, the Cavs are pretty much going to stay put because they finally got something going and they're doing pretty good right now. Now, this next team, this is going to be an interesting one. The Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, they're in the desperate situation right now. Their organization is ruined, is hurt. And you know what? They obviously, part of it is because they gave too many second string, third string guys, or number 2 and 3 guys, top options, like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. Okay, Zach LaVine is not that main guy. And we know I discussed it when I talked about the Miami Heat. There is a possible trade package there. I'll reiterate it for those of you just coming in and didn't hear it. Maybe you could possibly get Duncan Robinson or Kyle Lowry, a pick involved with Zach LaVine. There's a possible package right there, but we'll have to see if that ends up happening. And there is the possibility of Alex Caruso going too. So there might be some teams that are contenders that are looking to give up a first for Caruso. Like maybe the Mavs might be doing it. I mean, possibly the Nuggets could be trying to give it up. Maybe the Grizzlies. I mean, there's several teams I could think of, maybe particularly out west, that could possibly try to give up a first to try to get just a little bit better. Or maybe even a few teams in the East. I mean, maybe the Heat could try to do that too. But those are some teams there that could possibly try to give up a first for Alex Caruso. But yeah, and there's also, I think, Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan might be going somewhere, but the Bulls are going to have to try to do something. And the Bulls could be possibly looking to trade some guys like Andre Drummond, which, hey, I'll gladly take them back. We know the Sixers would rather play Andre Drummond. Maybe a possible package with Paul Reed to the Bulls. The Sixers can't Andre Drummond. The Sixers will use him. The Bulls could use a guy like Paul Reed. I'm probably lying to myself. That's probably not going to happen, is it? No, I think I'm lying to myself. But there are some players that could get traded. The Bulls have room to do something. There's possibly guys like Kobe White, Gordon Dragic, Andre Drummond. I mean, these are just guys that could get traded. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance some guys here could get traded. So we'll have to see. that happens. Now, this next team, another team that's still struggling, but I don't really know what they can do, and that's the Detroit Pistons. It's like, I just can't really think of much for the Pistons, possibly. That I think the Pistons, they're just going to have to keep rebuilding through the draft because I don't really know what good options there are for them. They might be able to pull something off, but I don't know if there's any good options for them in this trade deadline. So, Pistons, it's just, I know they need help, but I can't really think of much for them. So, they might be staying poor. They might pull off a small trade. And the last team, the Indiana Pacers, I know there have been rumors that Buddy Hield could get traded, but where? I'm trying to think, where could Buddy Hield possibly go? It's just like, oh, I mean, I know they're out there, but I just have a hard time trying to bind those rumors because I'm not sure where are they possibly going to trade Buddy Hield. It's like, but the Pacers, they don't really, I mean, they're starting to come together as a team. Do you really want to run the risk of getting rid of some of these guys that have been helping them in their rebuild and possibly ruining the chemistry of that team? Ruining the chemistry they've been building up? I don't know if it's really worth trying to pull off a big trade here for the Pacers. But yeah, so that's what I think about the teams in the East and what they may not do. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple minute pause in between. So I'm going to mute my mic and play some non-copyrighted music. Well, I take a small little pause in between, discuss the Eastern Conference teams and the Western Conference teams. right, so now I'm back. So we're gonna go. So I'm gonna go through this. So now I'm gonna go through the Western Conference teams, whether I think they should stay put or try to make a trade. So we're gonna go now through the West. So we're gonna start with a team that's been rolling with a star that is the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies, who have been on a tear with Ja Morant and are at the top of the Western Conference. And there has been talks though that the Memphis Grizzlies could be doing a trade. Maybe they could possibly try to trade, say, Danny Green, maybe try to get a bench piece. I've already kind of went through that a little bit earlier. So I think that's really, so I pretty much discussed the Grizzlies already. Maybe they could try to trade. I pretty much, so I'm not really going to talk much more about them. I said they could try to get Danny Green. But then again, will other teams want Danny Green? Now, here's a factor. Danny Green's coming off an ACL injury. Are teams going to want Danny Green? They're going to trust him? I mean, maybe they could try to go for Doug McDermott or Gary Harris. There's some possible options for the Grizzlies I haven't listed yet. So there are possible options, but even if they do, it's just going to be like one or two small moves. I don't see much coming from them. This next team, this team's in a tough predicament because this is a team that could try to get better, but who do they get rid of? I mean, with the Pelicans at this point, they do need some bench pieces for when Zion's not there, but who are they going to get, though? You're not going to get rid of Brandon Ingram. Wait, or what about CJ? You don't want to get rid of CJ McCollum. I mean, I know they need some pieces, but I'm just not sure who they're going to get rid of at this point. I just think the Pelicans are just stuck with rotten luck because Zion got injured. I don't know how his name escaped my head for a second there, but yeah, I don't see how they're going to get. They just really got rotten luck with Zion getting hurt. His main issue, but I don't see what other pieces they're really going to get that can really help them. I just think they're kind of screwed over by that Zion injury. And now the next team, well, they put themselves in this predicament during the offseason. Yes, with the Rudy Gobert trade. Tried to tell you guys it wasn't the smartest move because to give up all those pieces for Rudy Gobert. But there is a possibility, like I said, maybe if you're the Timberwolves, maybe try to get rid. They could try to go for Kyle Kuzma and ship off Karl Anthony Towns, some sort of package with the Wizards. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's something they could do. D'Angelo Russell's a guy maybe they could try to trade, but so the Wolves could be trying to free some space up right now on their roster, but I don't really think there's much they can get in return. I really think that's the best the Wolves can do right here at this point. Now, these next two teams, I'm going to kind of go through these a little quicker here. First, the OKC Thunder, because the Thunder are trending upward in the right direction. They're starting to win some games. Some of their pieces are starting to come together. They got those extra draft picks that can help them going forward in their rebuild. So I think they stay put as of where they're at right now. You keep going the direction you're going and with your team playing better, and you got some future draft picks to help, so you're going to invest in those if you're the Thunder. The Houston Rockets. Now, I don't know about the Rockets because even though the results aren't showing a win-loss record, they're trending in the right direction. So the Houston Rockets are going in the right direction right now. I think you give those players you got, those young players, some more experience, let them get better, and eventually you'll start to see the results show with their win-loss record, and you'll start to get back in contention soon if you're the Rockets. So I don't really think you need to make any big moves right here and try to risk throwing it off where everything's going. Now, the next team, we go to Big D in Dallas, Texas. The Dallas Mavericks. What they really needed to do, but it's too late for that, was try to keep Jalen Brunson and try to keep some of that help for Luka, but too late. That ship has sailed. So the Mavericks, I mean, maybe they could go for, I think the ones you want to keep are Christian Wood and Spencer Dinwiddie. I think some of the other guys are possibly tradable, maybe. Guys like Javal McGee, Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock. Those are some guys you could try to trade right there. Maybe try to throw in a package for John Collins. I don't see them going for Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal. They could try with Zach LaVine, but I don't know if it's going to work. So maybe Mavericks are more likely to get a Collins or a Bogdanovich, I think, and trade away some pieces. But I think for that trade package of the Mavs, you got to keep Christian Wood, Spencer Dinwiddie, and obviously you ain't trading Luka, so don't even bring that up as a possibility. So that's what I think right there. For the San Antonio Spurs, there's really not much for the Spurs. I actually alluded to that already earlier about guys like Jacob Poeltl or Doug McDermott. Maybe they try to trade one of those guys, try to get some draft compensation in return that could pay off several years down the line. I'm thinking that's the best the Spurs can do, and we'll probably try to go for in this before the trade deadline for next week, is they'll try to get some draft compensation in return. Next team up is a team that's in contention, so I don't really see them doing much, making much of a move, and that's the Denver Nuggets. Things are going well right there with Jokic. They're looking like they could be a favorites out west, so maybe they could use a bench piece or two, but I don't know who they're really going to go for. So it's not much the Denver Nuggets I really see them doing in this. So I'll kind of leave it at that with the Nuggets. Now, this next one, this is going to be an interesting one right here. We're going out west, and we're talking about the Phoenix Suns. Oh, the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, Jay Crowder's on the trading market. So we know there's a good possibility it could happen. I feel like the Suns, we all feel like their window to win a championship has closed recently. And obviously, it starts the retool time. Obviously, Devin Booker being injured plays a role in it. But even with that being said, Devin Booker's injury is a factor. And the Suns, look, their championship window is closed, I feel like. Even with Booker being there, if he's healthy, they could be playoff contenders, but I don't see them as championship contenders there. I don't. So I think the Suns' window's closed. And maybe they could trade Chris Paul to the Lakers so CP3 and LeBron could play. Maybe that's the last chance for them to be teammates. Maybe they try getting Russell Westbrook in return, but do you really want to bring in Russell Westbrook if you're the Suns? Is that really a good trade? Me personally, no. That's a terrible trade right there. There have also been Landry Shamet and Dario Saric mentioned in rumors for the Suns, but we'll have to see what they can do. We'll have to see right there. I think the Suns, personally, they're going to have to wait till the offseason to pull off a really big move to try to get back in contention. So that's what I think right there. So the next team on this is going to be, the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are in rebuild mode right here. They could try to get try to go for some of the top players on the market, but I don't think there's a good package for them. So I know on paper they seem like a team that could go get some options, but I just really don't see them going for much. Not at this point. Now we're going to go out to Cali now. We're going to talk about the California teams. Let's start with Los Angeles's stepchild, the Los Angeles Clippers. So the Clippers, they've been linked to a lot of discussion here. I think with all the talk going up about the possibility of guys like John Wall, Covington, or Markieff Morris getting traded, they could try to target. There's been rumors they could try to target Fred VanVleet, John Collins, Kyle Lowry, Gordon Hayward. There's a lot of talk right there. Don't be surprised if the Clippers try to pull off something, try to get a piece to help them stay in contention. So do not be surprised if we see the Clippers try to go for something right here. Now, we don't know what it'll be yet, but I do think the Clippers are going to possibly try to pull off a trade. So don't be surprised if you see that the Los Angeles Clippers are trying to pull off a trade sometime soon, all right? Don't be surprised if that's what happens, because it very well could happen. So I think, Clippers, we could be talking about a trade possibly happening soon with them, but what will it be? Time will tell. But I do think out of those guys I named, there could be a package set up somewhere. But we'll ultimately see what happens. Now we're moving on to the main team out west. The purple and old. The Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers. So I just decided to show both colors just for it. So the Lakers, I think they're a team that, I think obviously at this point, they got too many. They don't have, all they have is LeBron, and they have Anthony Davis when he's healthy, but he's injured often. So, and they just pull off a trade like Kendrick Nunn and Rue. They could maybe try to go for Chris Paul, but I think the Lakers are screwed over regardless. So I just don't really see much they can do that can actually help them at this point. And then the next team is a team that's actually surprisingly trending upward for the first time in years, the Sacramento Kings. What do the Kings do in this case? I don't really know, because the Kings they're finally moving in the right direction. They finally got a good shot at making the playoffs. Now, this isn't going to be their year, but it is their year. The long, never-ending rebuild finally starts to pay off. It's going to be that year this year. Now, I personally don't think I don't really know what they're going to get at this point in the trade deadline. But I think if you're the Kings, just be happy that you're at where you're at. And then you got the defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors. So the Warriors. I think the Warriors, they're starting to play a little better right now. I don't really think they need to do much. Maybe they trade James Wiseman because he hasn't really panned out. They trade him to a team that's willing, that wants a young player. Maybe Michael Jordan will be foolish enough to try to go for it. He's just a small trade, maybe. Maybe trade bench piece for bench piece there in a James Wiseman trade. I don't think it's going to really be anything significant, though, if they do it. So, there's not much else to say about the Warriors and what they may or may not be doing during the trade deadline, because they're not really going to be doing much. So, I'll leave it at that. And then we get to the last team on here, which is the Portland Trailblazers. Hold on a second. I apologize for that. That was just a small glitch right there. Okay, the Portland Trailblazers. I can't really think of much of what they could do realistically. I mean, unless they all of a sudden come through and get one of the top free agent targets, but they're going to have to give up a lot to get him that I don't think it's worth giving up if you're the Trailblazers. Hmm, I think they're a team that would have to give up too much for a big move in this during this period of this next week before the trade deadline. So I don't see the Trailblazers really doing much right now. They're probably gonna have to wait till the offseason to really do something significant. So I don't really see them doing much. So what else? Is there anything the Blazers could possibly do? I don't know. I just I don't really know. I just not much for the Blazers here, I think personally. So what I'll do is I'll leave it at that for this NBA free age, excuse not free agency, this NBA trade deadline discussion and rumors. Not much else to say. So yeah, went about an hour, got some people in on here. So to everyone that came in, thank you for coming in. I hope you enjoyed this right there. And if you're watching this, whether it be live or on replay, if you haven't done so already, please do me a favor, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new vid. So until next time, it is Nicky Stees signing off. Have a great Thursday night, and I'll be back to drop some more short content over the weekend about other NBA and NFL related subjects. So until next time, it is Nicky Stees signing off.